Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Get yourself comfortable and prepare for some interesting stories. One of them is a story about an OP who needs to find out if he is doing the right thing by not going to the hospital where his disabled sister is. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. I'm 15 years old. I have a stepsister who is a couple years older than me and she is really seriously disabled. I'm not sure what's wrong with her because no one ever wants to discuss it with me, but she's non-verbal, breaks her bones a lot, and has severe epilepsy and will have many fitting episodes. She also doesn't understand stuff. That's probably the easiest way to put it. She's just a human body with nothing inside. She's my stepmom's daughter. My stepmom married my dad 3 years ago and they dated only for a year before that. I don't know my stepmom very well and I don't really get on with her. We are respectful to each other, but I'm basically living with strangers because she's so busy with her daughter and my dad. I am always on my own and I used to hate it, but I'm used to it now. Ever since they moved in to live with us, life changed drastically for me because all the care now revolves around my stepsister. That's fine, I get it, but both my stepmom and my dad ask me to do things for my stepsister that I don't want to do and I resent doing. Stuff like staying home when I want to go to the mall with my friends, they're disappointed that I don't get her anything for her birthday with my very limited funds, etc. My own mom passed away when I was small so I can't go and stay anywhere else, and all in all I'm just a lot more angry than I used to be because they seem really disappointed whenever I say I don't want to do anything for her. Even stuff like feeding her, like I don't want to sit there feeding her banana pudding and wiping her drool. I didn't ask for this. Anyway, she recently fell a few days ago and had a seizure for 8 minutes. She was taken to hospital and the doctors want to keep her in and look after her. I don't want to go and visit her. I remember seeing my mom in hospital before she died and I just hate hospitals and I sort of hate my stepsister and I just don't want to go and visit someone who doesn't even know I'm there. My stepmom is really upset with me and so is my dad. They haven't yelled at me or anything, but they are both being super cold towards me because I don't want to visit. My grandma who lives in Canada called me up out of the blue and told me it was okay and I don't need to force myself to go to the hospital, so I'm assuming my dad has told her I'm refusing to go. He keeps pleading with me, but I keep telling him I'm not doing it. I told him hospitals remind me of mom and he got even more upset and said my stepsister might die and I need to stop being so selfish towards my stepmom. I just want to know what you think because half my friends think I should go and the other half think I'm justified in saying no. Not the idiot. You sound like an average teenager who has had a lot of life experiences early on. If going to the hospital upsets you, don't go. And don't be afraid to tell your dad what you need, which is his undivided attention for a minute. If you're in school, talk to a counselor or teacher or ask to be referred to therapy. You have a real asset in your grandma. Call her and talk with her often. She may be a good way to get through to your dad. Hang in there. I'm sorry life is tough right now. No idiots here. You're right, you didn't ask for this, you're not your sister's care, and having lost your mom you're understandably uneasy around hospitals. But please rethink the idea that she's just a human body with nothing inside. People with disabilities are still people. And while I don't think you should be the one feeding her, it does seem strange that you don't give her birthday gifts. Even something small would be a kind gesture. You're in a really difficult situation, and I sympathize, but there has to be a middle ground between being her carer and rejecting her altogether. I completely disagree with the notion you should be there as support for your dad and stepmom. You're a child. It's not your role to be their support system, although in a healthy dynamic this will shift as you get older. As far as how you feel about your stepsister, I completely understand why you haven't formed a bond with her and feel like you can't. It's completely reasonable. I do think you should find a different way to verbalize it. Saying you have no bond with her is different than saying she's just nothing, and it's less offensive to people. I have been married to my husband for almost 12 years now. Very good marriage, but his mom has been a problem since we first met. She is a habitual line stepper and it has caused me endless frustration and grief. It's gotten so much worse since we've had kids because she believes it's her God-given right to spoil the kids as much as possible. She moved in the first guy she met at a country western bar who owns RVs. They have begged us every year to let the kids do a summer trip with them, but I didn't know how well I trusted her boyfriend and the food situation drove me up the wall. Well, in January, against my better judgment, they talked me into it for 2 weeks this summer. My husband was excited because he booked a hotel at this super cool hot tub spa in the mountains outside Santa Fe, which sounded fun, but I was still concerned about my MIL. I gave my MIL a food list of things I wanted them to eat while they were on the road. I wasn't prohibiting treats by any means, but I wanted them to eat some decent protein and something green at least once a day. I told my MIL that I had a trust but verify attitude with her based on past incidents, so before I let them drive away, I wanted to see evidence that she has bought or at least made plans for good food. She's had since January to show me a receipt, a pic on her phone, a cookbook she's going to use, literally anything to show me she's making some effort to comply with what I requested. As of last night there was nothing, and I told her as I was going to bed that if I don't see decent food in the RV, the kids aren't going. Well, that's exactly what happened. I asked to see the pantry and fridge, and at first she said they were in a huge hurry and didn't have time. I told her no way, I was looking. So she let me in, and I swear to God all that was in this RV were Sam's Club quantities of chips, sour Skittles, and the fridge was filled to the brim with soda and their beer and Crown Royal. There wasn't even lunch meat and bread. I asked her where the good food as per our agreement. First she said she hadn't had time. I told her she's had since January. Then she got really snotty with me and told me these kids need to have fun once in a while. We'll stop at freaking McDonald's if that will get your panties out of your butt. That was it. I told the kids to get their things and the trip was cancelled. They cried. My MIL started doing her overly dramatic crying and trying to make me feel guilty by making the kids cry even more. I took the kids inside the house, and the RV sat in our driveway for almost 2 hours while she blew up my phone from everything from promising she'd go to the grocery store to blaming me for wasting their money on Wet n Wild tickets in Denver. My husband is mad at me because I guess we don't get to have our love time in the hot tubs. So it's basically 5-on-1 in my family as to whether or not I'm an idiot. Was I an idiot here? Not the idiot. But Grandma and your husband are. He knows how his mother is. If this trip and hot tub was so important to him, he should have gotten control of his mother. It's his mother, not yours. He should be responsible for holding her to her crap. You have plenty of time for Grandma to get her crap together and obtain provisions. You gave her every chance. Your husband is being inconsiderate for placing all the blame on you. Not the idiot. It's not even slightly okay that she ignored a simple request, and it sounded like you already compromised in even allowing them to go. It's not even slightly okay to feed a 9 and 6-year-old soda, chips and fast food for 2 weeks, and her response to you was so crazy and out of touch and offensive that I would seriously consider going NC with them. As someone who has been NC with my extremely toxic mother-in-law for going on a year now, I highly recommend it. Well, I think it's everyone's the idiot here. You're not an idiot for putting your foot down with your mill, but you are the idiot for ruining a vacation for both your children and your husband, in my opinion. They'd survive eating garbage for 2 weeks, and you could have just not allowed a trip in the future. Your mother-in-law is most certainly much more of an idiot for lying to you and not respecting your authority over your children, but I still think you were an idiot to the rest of your family due to the consequences. My friendship with Dave, he's been my mate for 15 years, we've been through some crap together, and he's always been my most solid friend. He's always been prone to get jealous around me with girls, and whichever women are in our lives, either separately or together, he will get very weirdly competitive. However, for various reasons both of us have been single Pringles for longer than we've been in relationships, but he's honestly like a brother to me. He's been a shoulder to cry on when my mum passed away, I helped him buy a house, he bought me my first dog, etc. My girlfriend Safia, I've known her since last November. My gym buddy had been pushing me to meet her, and despite me not really wanting a GF, it happened one day and we hit it off big time. I've known her 6 months and I can tell you right now she's the one for me. She is never in a million years the type of girl I'd go for. She is completely out of my league. Lip fillers, makeup obsessed, runs around making friends with cats on the street, loves pink anything, calm as anything, has a degree in biomedical science, works for an organization that advises the bloody NHS, and is sharply intelligent. When I introduced Dave and Saf to each other I was sure they'd love each other. But nope. Despite me thinking Safia is the most interesting freaking person to walk this earth, Dave has been nothing but hostile to her and is openly rude. She first took it well and privately I apologized profusely to her. I asked Dave what the hell his issue was and he called her names. Since then it's progressed into him openly calling her Blondie, she has dark hair, him telling me she's after my money, him telling me that I need to break up with her because she's only using me and someone like her would never want to be with someone like me. Safia has said literally nothing about him and I know she has an insecure streak where she feels like people don't like her as it is, so naturally I've stopped seeing Dave as much. He called me drunk last night and told me how I've let that witch get in between him and I. I'm honestly done with his guy. Am I doing the right thing by severing this relationship? In the last 6 months my life has been getting better and better, and coincidentally I've been seeing him less and less. Him disrespecting my girlfriend is the nail in the coffin as far as I'm concerned, but my other friends think this is a classic case of me being caught up in a shiny new relationship and not seeing the bigger picture. Not the idiot. Your friend is jealous and thought you guys were forever alone together. Now you're not, and it's making him feel insecure. This is no excuse for how he's treating your girlfriend. Even if you guys broke up, I would not be running back to Dave as a friend. Given that it's such a long friendship, I would be inclined to give him one chance to apologize and promise to correct his behavior. One question. Do your other friends think any of the things that Dave thinks? Egg that she's only after your money, stuff like that. If everyone agrees, the only caveat I'd have is that sometimes it takes an outside perspective to see what's really going on in a relationship. If everyone thinks it is worth trying to step back a bit and pay close attention to the behaviors that are making people say those things. For your own peace of mind if nothing else. Not the idiot. Ditch the word of friend, regardless of the girlfriend situation. Dude's got some weird issues and it's not going to change, clearly. I've got a buddy I have known for a long time who kind of has the same fatal flaws. Somewhere along the line, everything became a measuring contest and it got real old real quick. Cut your losses. Don't fall for the sunk cost fallacy. The amount of time you've known him is irrelevant, how he is behaving in the present is what counts. 15 years is a long time, you said he's like a brother to you, I don't think he would want bad for you. What I suggest is try to talk this through with him again, or just chill and act like nothing has happened, but don't let them meet. If he keeps on being an idiot for no reason and refuses to respect you and your choice, then tell him to take a walk. That would definitely be a wake-up call for him. He should come around, man. Why would he whine about your GF if she's done nothing? You might be still in that new girl days phase. Just try to analyze your lady's behavior. From what you've described, she doesn't seem like a gold digger, but get another friend you trust to give his opinion on her. Another perspective would be helpful here. My grandfather passed a month ago, shortly after my 21st birthday. My dad left when I was 7, and my mum passed away when I was 11, shortly after my grandma. My granddad took me in straight away despite his age, even though he was still mourning both his wife and daughter. Though still deadly sharp, his physical condition wasn't great in his last few years. I'd express my worry for him sometimes, but he'd always tell me to get lost and assure me he'd see me through till 21. He was the light of my life. When he died, I didn't shed a tear. It's hard for me to explain why, but he was still giving sass on his deathbed and pinched my arm and told me to not cry because he wasn't crying. After I left, I received a text from my aunt later that evening that she was disappointed at me for not being visibly mournful, and apparently him telling me not to was a very poor response. I ignored this, since we were all grieving. I didn't return to the house for 3 days to avoid being alone again. When I did return, I found the shelves empty, bits of furniture missing, and photos taken from the walls. I confronted my aunt immediately, who after some arguing returned most of what was taken. Maybe she didn't think I'd notice, but not only had she taken both my granddad's and his dad's service medals, she had sold them as well. Luckily, I found the selling post on Facebook quickly enough, and the man who bought them was happy to return them to me. I refunded man, and don't plan on asking my aunt for repayment, since I'm just so glad to have them back in the first place. I did not confront my aunt about this. The funeral arrives, and I'm straight away hounded for going through with a cremation. I kept telling her that it was my granddad's decision, not mine, but apparently this contradicted his Catholic values. I'm an extremely mellow person, but this continued into the gathering afterwards. She told others how selfish I was for not letting her take any of his belongings and how she thought I pushed him into signing his house over to me. I was soon invited to sit among a table of some of his old friends, at which my aunt was sat too. I tried to not pay her any mind, but the conversation soon devolved and she slipped up and told the table that I hadn't even let her take a single medal. I lost myself at this and erupted into a slurry of profanities. My aunt immediately starts crying and I seize moment to call her out on her selling the medals in the first place. I'm not sorry for the things I said to my aunt, but I'm deeply ashamed of my behavior given the setting. Some people have approached me offering support, to which I have not replied, but I have this immense feeling of guilt in my stomach that I can't shake. I know for sure that I overreacted, but am I the idiot? Should I apologize to each attendee individually? I'm in a terrible way at the moment and my mind is all over the place. I feel like I need someone from the outside to tell me what to do. Not the idiot. Death brings out the absolute worst in families when there's anything of value left behind. What your aunt did, robbing the house before the estate is settled, is incredibly common. Honor your grandpa's wishes and disown the aunt once all the legal issues are settled. I expect everyone at the funeral already understands and wouldn't expect any apology from you. Not the idiot. I mean, you just lost somebody very important in your life, you had all the right to grieve. Your aunt going to the house while you were away and taking things without asking and trying to sell them is way past the limit in my opinion. Selling your grandfather's service medal is a horrible thing to do. I would definitely keep that as a memory of him. I know, as my grandfather served in the military as well. You had every right to be mad and to tell her off, so don't let it get to you too much, you already have enough on your mind as it is. I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope things get better for you. I'm so sorry for your loss, but everyone mourns in their own way. Some people react by crying non-stop, others bottle it up and erupt days, weeks, years later. It seems like you are in the latter category, and your reaction to your aunt's behavior definitely cements that. You did as he asked, and her behavior is inappropriate and selfish. You're not the idiot for erupting on her, and honestly, if everyone cares for you, you shouldn't need to apologize, it was a natural reaction. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about an OP who adopted his brother and hid the truth to protect him. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.